been back for like to the practice field? Have you been back?
This is my second. I came back in 2019 for practice, and I don't think this was all done yet as far as the indoor facility and even like this area right here, so it's different. But it's beautiful. I wish we had this when I was here, of course. I think we used to go to the band field and practice on the turf, and then we would go to the intramural field sometime. If the grass was messy over here, but it's nice. It's beautiful. Yeah.
How much have you enjoyed this tour? Getting to see the different,
Tony Hawk going by us.
seeing the different campuses. How much fun is it?
Yeah, it's been fun. For me as an analyst, it makes my job a little easier because I actually get a chance to meet the coaches, meet the players, see them in person. It's one thing to watch tape. You know, it's the same for you guys. You know what I mean? When you get a chance to watch tape, you can, have your analysis that way. But then when you actually get them in person, meet them, kind of get a feel for their personality, how they walk onto the practice field, see their sense of urgency. I think that helps my job even more when I get into games and when we're calling stuff on the weekends. I can expand more than just the X's and O's. I can actually say, yeah, this guy looked great in practice, or I just liked his vibe, things like that.
As you've gotten to know these guys over the last year, and especially now that you're having in-person interactions, what's been kind of the first impression or things that have stood out to you about Coach Norvell and his staff?
Yeah, I think Coach Norvell has the energy that we need here. And I say we as an alum of Florida State, I feel like, for the past couple of years, obviously we've been down. I think when you are down, you just have to have that belief and that energy to kind of get yourself out of that hole, so to speak. Obviously, we need wins in order to really, truly get yourself out of it. But I think overall, from what I've read and what I've seen in videos and even watching the coverage that you guys do, I listen to your podcast off the bench, I can hear that the energy is back. He seems like he's upbeat. He seems like he's genuine. He's not just trying to be somebody and be a spokesperson. I feel like that's really who he is. And obviously his track record at Memphis and other places he's coached at, he's had success. So I don't see why it would be any different here at Florida State.
How much have you kind of enjoyed this job just in general, being able to stay around the game?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I work with great people like Kelsey and Jordan Cornette, Eric McLean, Coach Rick. Our producers are amazing to work with. I actually tell them all the time, especially because I walked away from my football career. I was with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I took this job, so I had to get out of that contract. There was but I had to have that conversation with Andy Reid. So he kind of looked at me like, really? And I was like, yeah, this is what I wanted to get into after I played football, and so it was a time of the essence opportunity for me, and I've enjoyed it. I haven't had one bad day, to be completely honest. Don't get me wrong, I know I could still play, but I do enjoy what I'm doing now, and I think this is only going to continue to grow for me. Hopefully get on to the college game day at some point. That's my ultimate goal. But for right now, I'm really enjoying working with the ACC Network and all the things they have me doing.
Similar question that you got in your playing days. Where have you seen your biggest area of growth from last year as an analyst and kind of building?
I think doing radio during the week has helped me a lot as far as my pace, slowing down, really expanding on my stories. Because in radio, you have 3 hours to fill. And I work with Brock Heward, who's been a huge mentor for me. Even when I called Carolina's spring game, he was the first person to call me and say, hey, do this, and this to get prepared for a game call. Because being an analyst in the studio is different than calling games. And so I thought I did well with that. And then even Kelsey, she's been in this business for a long time, so I lean on her and Jordan. The people that have been doing this, I've been playing football. They've been working on TV for a while, so having that supporting cast has helped me a ton. But I would say the biggest thing is just slowing down, expanding on my stories. And obviously I do the work and the research. So when I get a chance to talk about it, just let that come out.
Do you see any similarities to where Florida State is right now to where, like, when you were coming in? I mean, Florida State had kind of fallen, trying to get back up. And what was the key to you guys trying to get around?
I think the biggest thing for my class, the 08 class, 09, and 2010, we just wanted to change the narrative. We all had this tradition and favor, and we loved Florida State, and I'm a Virginia kid, but I grew up watching FSU. I would get on YouTube and play the Warchant and all that stuff and get all excited, jumping around the house. And when I got the call and Jimbo started recruiting me, Coach Bowden, it was special to me, and I took it to heart. And so I think the similarities between this team and my class, we just wanted to change the narrative. It took a while. It took like 2 years, I think, like 2010. Once we beat Notre Dame, actually, in that bowl game, I felt like, okay, now this is where we want to be at on that national scene. And so, I think for these guys, don't try to be like a class before. And that's not what we try to do. We respected it. We respected the 90s, the 2000s, but we wanted to have our own name and, be able to put, some stuff on the walls over here and even build these. I'm sure what we did helped build these facilities, the wins that we made. So I'm sure these guys will look at it the same way.
When you're in watching practice or you're with the team for a day, what are some of the indicators that you're looking for to say, I think this group's on the right track, or this team could be in some trouble?
Yeah, well, for me, it's my first day of practice, so I never judge too deep because they might be on an off day, or I'm a player, you know what I mean? So there's times where I had a great practice on Monday, and then on Wednesday I miss on a throw, or I miss on this, I miss on that. And so I don't judge a guy off of what I see in a 2-hour practice and his body of work. I haven't seen the whole thing. So for me, I would just like to see, you know, how they bounce around from drill to drill, what their energy is like. That's what, you know, you can't coach that. I mean, that comes from who you are and what you bring to the table. So everything else can get coached up. And you know, I think one thing with us as media members, we go and watch practice and we're so critical, but really it's practice. You know what I mean? Like, these guys should go out here and make mistakes and try different things. And once you get into games, you can expand on that. But I feel like practice is really the time to work out the kinks and try to figure things out.
You don't get to spend any time with McKenzie or Jordan at kickoff. What are your thoughts about just them as people?
Yeah, it was short, but I did get a chance to talk to them, and obviously Coach Norvell. My impressions are both really intellectual guys. Obviously, when you watch the tape, you know what McKenzie's done, his body of work. I think over 8,000 yards in his career at UCF. So we know he can throw the football. But then with the same with Jordan, you know, I know his brother Devo when he was here playing baseball, and you know, obviously the lineage of an athletic family. And we saw what he could do last year. Specifically, that Louisville game really stands out, where he made some big plays in that one. So I honestly feel like you have a system where you have 2 quarterbacks. I think you can be confident in both of them to go out there and win football games. You might have to cater the offense a little differently depending on which one's playing, but overall I feel like they both will give us as a Florida State team you know, a good chance to win. So I like both of them.
During your career, Florida State went 5-0 in bowls. You know, it seemed like that really helped y'all go into the next year. Every year, how big could that be for the 2021 team to maybe make a bowl?
Yeah.
How much does that help your team?
Yeah, well, it gives you a lot of confidence moving forward. To us, and even myself, it just kind of became a normalcy. Like, when we got to bowl practice, I knew that, okay, if we have 3 weeks to prepare for a team, we can beat them. And I think that's what helped my success, going 4-0. And I would say 5-0 with the Senior Bowl. We won the Senior Bowl too. But in all seriousness, I just feel like it gives you a good taste in your mouth going into the spring. You know, you go into the spring with a loss, you're like, that's the last tape you're watching, and that's obviously the ones that the head coach or offensive coordinator are like watching over and over and over. So for me, just to make my life a little easier from January up until April, I wanted to make sure we won that game. So I just feel like it gives you that confidence going into the next year.
Someone were asking you about your playing days. What game would you point them to watch and be like, this is EJ Manuel?
Clemson game 2012. I would say it was I ain't gonna say my coming out party, because we had some really good games before that, but that was a statement game for our program. Clemson was highly ranked. We were highly ranked. It was here in Doak, and they had a high-powered offense. Taj Boyd, Sammy Watkins, Nuke Hopkins, Martavis Bryant was on that team. A lot of really good players. And so we showed up. We had a great game. We beat them. And actually, I don't even think we were up the whole game. I think we had to kind of fight back and get back on top. So I would say that's probably my favorite game to go back and watch from, like, on YouTube, not doing anything. But yeah, and even some of the, you know, earlier games of my career. You know, my first start ever versus Wake Forest. That was a big game because that was Bobby's, you know, Coach Bowden's last season, and I understood that we had to win 2 of the 3 in order to get to a bowl game, and we got to a bowl game and won that too. So, you know, I've had this place has really changed my life, and even to where I'm at now with ACC Network. Had I not came to FSU and had success like I did, I don't know if I would have got this job, to be honest.